go. I think we are live.
Welcome, FasCat Nation. We are talking about setting new goals and using virtual communities for motivation today. And the time frame we're talking about is April, May, and June while the racing is on hold. And we'll talk about new goals that you can do by yourself, like making the training plan turn green by FTFPing, hitting a certain CTL target, or an all-time high FTP. And then we will talk about testing out your race-specific power, like 1 minute anaerobic and or 5 minute VO2 power. And it's kind of like critical power testing, power profile testing, if you remember the Andy Coggan chart. We'll cover using Strava for training purposes, as well as maintaining a semblance of community. And since we mentioned Strava, we can't talk about a virtual world if we don't cover Zwift at length and what a beneficial resource it can be for us all in the next 2 to 3 months. We have the gravel team in the house today. We have coaches Jake, Isaiah, and Jackson on the mics. What's up, fellas?
Hello. It's like
hey guys,
Brady Bunch, motley crew of gravel. Yeah, we're Zoom is the hot thing right now, I think, as people are going more and more remote. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't crash, but good to be here.
We have a new format, you all, and it's Zoom. The podcast listeners, you won't pick up on that, but you'll be able to find us on YouTube. I think that's the other thing. But Coach Jake, what's it like in your neck of the woods in Indiana these days?
it's crazy, probably like everywhere else. Kids are home right now. We do e-learning. Luckily, our school system had e-learning set up in case of snowstorms for a while now, so we were kind of prepared for that. Although our school was one of the first to go on shut down because one of the students tested, positive for the COVID-19. So yeah, we've been out for over 2 weeks now, and there's the kindergartner. So you're just trying to balance now. Kids working are home, so parents working from home, and trying to fit time to ride now. Since my riding time was when the kids were at school, so that's usually not an option anymore. So more Zwift probably while I have the children. So. But yeah, it's good. But I think we're finding our routine now, and we're getting on track. So it's been pretty well. And thank God for iPads, because I don't know what we would have done like a couple of years ago when there were no iPads. At least that keeps them busy for a few hours a day. We're kind of running low on that now. They've been on it for a while.
Jake, there's these things called books, they're really great for kids.
Kids don't read books. But
well,
I guess,
how old are your kids? For our listeners?
They're 10, 6, and 4. And
yes.
with the e-learning, one of the things that I found interesting is like what they're learning in 4th grade. I'm like, I don't think I knew that in 4th grade. But it's or kindergartner. It's like, wait, you can do that already? I don't think I could do that. So yeah, it's fun. You do get to spend more time with your kids though, so it's fun. There's an upside.
Yeah. Well, hang in there, man. Your Zwift form seems to have not been affected at all.
It's because I know all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah. Zwift legend.
How about you, Jackson? How's Sun Valley? What you were on Zwift yesterday for the first time?
Not the first time ever, but the first time in a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Actually, the weather has been pretty nice. A lot of the roads and the groads are drying up. So I've been able to get out on the bike. It's been sort of in and out weather, but yeah, I mean, it's a small town. We're getting affected, just like everyone else. And I mean, it is just weird to see our town kind of turn into a little bit of a ghost town, as a lot of places are getting shut down, but just trying to stay productive, proactive. And luckily a lot of the stuff that I do is online. So lots of podcasts, lots of learning and
content creation.
And so, yeah, when I went out for a good Nordic ski yesterday, the trails are still in good shape. So just, keeping active. And so, but it's fun that we can, I mean, even though I'm isolated in my house by myself, we can still pretend we're not, we're all in the same room here. So
this is we're just working together. Same. Yeah. How about you, Isaiah? What's it like in your neck of the woods?
It's good. We've been stocking up. We've been Boulder and Denver, and I think all of Colorado now is under stay at home. So it's interesting. We've been creative on the cooking side more than normal. Both me and my wife obviously are working from home now, so it's we kind of trade off cooking lunches, which we normally, you know, didn't do before. So it's odd to have, I guess, more time and more accessibility to just trying different recipes for 3 meals a day versus kind of like barely getting through lunch and then experimenting with dinner. So a lot of dishes, but other than that, it's been pretty good. Yeah.
Right on.
A lot of stocking up.
Have you been able to ride outside? I think a lot of folks want in the rest of the country, just from talking with athletes over the past 2 weeks, is, you know, are you riding outside? Everyone wants to know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been riding outside. It's been honestly pretty nice over the last couple of weeks in Boulder. And there are a lot of people out. It's definitely diminished in group sizes. You know, I think when this first started, groups were still a thing. And now it's basically just people from the same household riding together in groups of, you know, 2 really at the most. I was out yesterday for a little bit, and I maybe saw one other group of 2. So it's pretty minimal. But there's still a lot of people getting outside because I think that's a super healthy thing to be doing as far as mental health. And there's a reason it's on the list of things that are allowed to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think even the parts of the country that are under maybe more hardcore restrictions, people are still riding outside. Like I have an athlete in Berkeley. They're still allowed and encouraged to ride outside, and I have an athlete in Queens, New York, and they weren't able to ride in their neighborhood just because, you know, it's a super densely populated, like that's a true city, and they actually moved out to Long Island, and so now he can ride outside. And
Cool.
what's it like in Indiana, Jake?
It seems like there's more people outside, but it's hard to also say because it's finally spring and warm and people want to get outside. But they've had to close some of their multi-purpose trails because they were just getting too crowded with people. And, you know, we're supposed to keep a distance of 6 feet, and there'd be hundreds of people and just walking all close together. So they've had to close those, but you can still get on the roads and any side streets, and there's less traffic now with less people commuted. So it's good.
Yeah. Better for bike riding, less cars.
Yes.
Well, let's do some announcements, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes. So this is our gravel team, everyone, and we're on pause. We're still bike riding because bike riding is not canceled. And one of our brand partners, Panaracer, they gave us a very generous 40% discount code that we to give to you all. So to take advantage of that, go to panaracerusa.com and use FasCat 2020. That's FASCAT 2020 to get 40% off any of the Gravel Kings, and that's what we use. And they have some pretty cool new colors. They have the purple and the army green, and I think there's like a yellow one in there. So if you like colors, feel free to support those. My go-to training tire right now is the Gravel King 32 millimeter. That is a slick, and I run it tubeless at 40 PSI, and it's like all purpose for roads, the gravel stuff we have around here. And then because I run it tubeless, it's fun to take out on like like some of the trails that aren't too technical and not worry about flatting. Speaking of our brand partners, our gravel team's Pearl Izumi FasCat kits, they're available on the FasCat site, along with our hats and the t-shirts that only Isaiah and I have so far. You guys, yours are in the mail. I was delayed on the whole shelter in place. I went to the post office.
COVID with it.
Yeah, you'll be happy to know I wore gloves and brought a stylus to the post office the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are in the mail, and you guys will be able to support that pretty soon. Speaking of Pro Izumi, they just published a nice little blog post that I wrote about the gravel scene now and then. I wrote it about based on when I first got into the sport from the 1990s mountain bike scene and how it was then. I drew a lot of similarities there. It's a fun little article to read, so head on over there. And last but not least, our number one brand partner, FasCat. As always, you can use 25 Podcast for 25% off any of the training plans on fastcatcoaching.com. So Jackson's going to read our iTunes review of the week.
Yes, the best place to leave any and all reviews for the podcast. So if you haven't already, little nudge to send us some love, give us some feedback.
Nudge.
Yes, this one is not sure who it's from, but it says, love the podcast and FasCat. Look forward to the pod every week and getting the insights of the FasCat team. Love getting actionable takeaways that help hashtag FTFP and win in the kitchen. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, don't be shy. Go to iTunes and leave us a review. It helps out a ton. And it's always fun to read your feedback. All right, Isaiah is going to read the training plan review of the week.
So this week it comes from Andrew Helmich. Sorry if I messed up that last name. From New South Wales, Australia. It's actually on our road race in season plan. He says, quote, I was loving this plan and seeing some real improvements when COVID-19 hit and all racing was canceled. I'm putting this on hold off to buy a sweet spot plan today. While we can still ride outside in Australia to maintain fitness, I have and enjoy the slightly lower intensity training. Sorry on that. Looking forward to returning to this plan once racing starts again. Stay safe and healthy.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And as a reminder for everyone out there, if you want to leave a review of the training plan that you're on, go back to the product page on the FasCat site, leave a review, and you can be honest. We take positive and negative feedback, and the website will automatically mail or email you a 25% discount code to use for your next plan, even if you want to switch for everything that's happened. And like Jake was making the comment a couple weeks ago, we talked at length switching from base to race, and now it's like you want to switch from race back to base. And then I know you're probably, the faithful listener is probably like, well, y'all keep contradicting yourselves. You just talked about a Corona plan last week. And, you know, I mean, everyone's situation is different. We try to cover all the scenarios. And one scenario or one big picture thing that we're talking about today is without any racing, that's usually where a lot of our goals lie. And we as coaches work with athletes to develop good training habits. And that's what we talk about when we make the joke FTFP, make it turn green. That like consistency to your training is like just a day-to-day training goal that you can have. Other training goals that you can set in the next 3 months, April, May, and June, or maybe to hit a certain CTL, which will happen if you're FTFPing. And then there's a lot of conversations I've had with athletes in the past couple weeks have been, they've worked their butt off this winter, and they want to strut their stuff and see how fast they've become. And that can be with a, just a good old fashioned 20-minute field test and having an FTFP goal, to set threshold power. And then one of the things that Isaiah was mentioning is a race specific target output, like a 1 minute and 5 minute critical power testing. And then you can also, go for your favorite Strava segment. That's like the Phil Gaiman training, or just his whole deal is he basically trains for Strava. And I think that's a really viable goal to have in the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, Strava is a great resource right now. I think, it's another carrot to have, especially if you're stuck in one place, not traveling around. Most of us have a Strava segment that we have our eyes on around, and it's a good way to keep gauging your fitness and progression. So I'm into it.
Yeah, and so I mentioned that Isaiah had a few things that he's doing. Isaiah, what's like an example of like some new goals you're developing with the athletes that you coach?
Actually, just got off the phone with an athlete before this, where we kind of brainstormed and I threw out some ideas for him, and we came up with some good stuff. So first, kind of the concept of this is a great time to make sure your equipment's dialed and like that's all set up correctly, because normally during training it's really difficult to kind of step away from one bike or another and get it all sorted. So good on that one. And it helps to kind of support local mechanics if they're still open and around. Exploration. So this is one that actually an athlete of mine came up with, where it's the concept of pick a kind of like region within your local area that you've always kind of wanted to ride to, and then pin drop and basically map how to get there through either trails or roads or what other system, and then ride there and make it kind of like a cool new experience, try and find something new, see something new. And then another one that I just talked to an athlete about was the concept of skill work. So how to, in this new age and with everything that's going on, work on skill work. So I challenged him to go out and find, basically pick a skill that he really wants to work out, go find a section in his region that we could session, video that session, come back to me with it, and then I can give him some pointers, and basically he can go out next time, session it maybe 5 or so times, and then we can continue to go back and forth and critique within video content. So I'm excited about that. I think he's pretty stoked on it, and we'll find some cool stuff this session. I think he wanted to do some sand work and some different cornering work, so it'll be cool.
Yeah, and so for everyone out there, Isaiah's talking about, this is a cyclocrosser, right?
It's actually a mountain biker, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So mountain bikers, cyclocrossers, now's like, I think that's a great idea. Like go out and like, prop up in your iPhone and maybe show your coach how you do your 3 points of contact, dismount, pick up the bike and run and get back on the bike. That's a really good thing to do at the park. You don't need anyone to do that with. You can do that by yourself. Cool. Well, one of the things, you can talk about going for a Strava segment, like maybe it's, like Flagstaff is a big one here in Boulder. Everyone I think is immediately thinking about, hey, I was close. I have a PR on this segment. It can be a loop. One of the things I challenge my athletes to do, in addition to like we've podcasted before about Strava vols and using different Strava segments to train specifically for the races of which you have like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, 20 minutes, time trials, things like that. I think you can also go out and create a loop that's like 2 or 3 hours. And I'm not saying like time trial, you can like do it for time. And that kind of gets towards the way that you would approach a Fondo or one of your gravel events here in Boulder. One of my favorite loops to do, and I can back maybe in my younger self, I could go sub 3 hours, was from the corner of Broadway and Lee Hill, head north on Highway 36 to Lyons and ride South St. Vrain Canyon to Raymond, up to the peak to Ward, but don't stop, fly down left-hand canyon and turn right up Lee Hill, and then climb Lee Hill and then come back down into Boulder. And on a good day, you can do that in under 3 hours without too much pain and suffering. So it's fun things like that, just set it up, create little new motivational nuggets out there for you. You can use Strava for that. And one of the biggest things you can use is Zwift. And we'll talk about that at length. But before we get off the Strava thing, FasCat Coaching does have a club on Strava. You can join at Strava clubs, FasCat Coaching. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that's going to come from this podcast is we are going to put a Beat Coach Jake challenge up on the club of Jake, what's the course we're going to do that you are going to talk about?
We could do Sands and Sequoias. It's on Zwift. It's like half flat and half rolling. It's a 12.5 mile loop. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes probably. So good challenge. We could also do the Alp if you want to do a climbing challenge, which is 7.5 miles of climbing, which, could take 45 minutes.
Oh. And those are both Strava segments, right?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So I think that's like you're combining two communities to kind of, you ride in Zwift and then you get to see your results on Strava.
Right.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. And then Isaiah, you have set up a Whoop recovery group. Is that right?
That's correct.
Whoop,
yeah,
group.
It's a cool new a feature within Whoop. So if any of you guys out there use Whoop as a recovery tracker, they have teams within Whoop, and you can join the FasCat team. Basically, the concept of it is that you can compare yourself to other athletes, and by comparison, you get to see activity scores and where you stack up. You can see anything from activity scores, calories, to recovery, to where you compare percentage-wise within HRV and resting heart rate. And it's just kind of a neat metric thing to kind of compare yourself locally or just to the FasCat athlete. In order to do that, all you have to do is go within to the group team settings of Whoop, and then you just enter our team code, which is COMM-7F3229. And if you enter that in, you'll be part of it.
We can link that directly into the show notes as well if you send that over to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that so while we're all social distancing and while we're all essentially riding by ourselves, there's just these are all just wonderful resources that you can tap into to, become a part of the community and, just really just show up and be there. And that's a great example in addition to Strava and Zwift. And another place that you've heard us talk about many, many times is the FasCat forum.fastcatcoaching.com. And over there, I'm on the page right now. We have questions talking about Training Peaks data, how you do your long zone 2 trainer rides. We have a home weightlifting plan modification thread for the athletes that are no longer going to the gym, or just because that they're closed now, and what you can do to amend your training plan there. How to set your FTP on a Peloton bike. It's just a great place. And because next week we are going to do a Q&A, you heard it here first, that is a great place to ask your question. And if it's something that we think we can share with the rest of the podcast listeners, we'll answer your question on the podcast. So great place. I'll just go ahead and say this now. Send us an email to help@fastcatcoaching.com. Just tag us on Instagram, fastcatcoaching.com, or go to the forum and ask the question. And it can be anything. It can be about what we talk about here in this podcast today. It can be about the Corona plan that we talked about last week. It could be about what to do if your race is canceled that we talked about 2 weeks ago. It can be anything: winning in the kitchen, nutrition, power data training, everything under the sun, gravel racing, all that good stuff. So that's another good community for everyone to just kind of participate in. And speaking of that, Jake, tell us about the Cervelo Gravel Rush ride we all did last night.
So Cervelo's been putting on a Zwift ride. It started last night. It's going to be the next 3 weeks on Thursdays. It's the Cervelo Crush Gravel Ride. Inside Zwift, there are different bikes you can ride. There's mountain bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes, and each one goes different speeds based on the terrain. Or since there's gravel now in Zwift and dirt, gravel bikes are great. And they just introduced these into the game platform. And one of the bikes they have available is the Cervelo Aspero, which happens to be the same bike that the FasCat guys ride on our gravel team. So Cervelo is putting the series together to let you test these different bikes on Zwift. And last night we all rode the Aspero on half dirt, half pavement. And coming up this week, it's the jungle circuit. It'll be all gravel, and we'll again be on the Aspero bikes. And the last race of the series, you can either choose the road bike, which we'll use on the 3rd week, or the gravel bike, which we've been using these last 2 weeks. So just to kind of see which one goes faster, which one you like in game. So this Thursday, I think the FasCat gang is going to do the one that's at 1:10 p.m. Mountain Time. We're all going to be there. Jackson, Isaiah, Frank, and myself. We were there last night. We talked about having a nice little group ride, and the way things work on Zwift, there is no such thing as a nice little group ride. And, before you know it, it's single file. There's 500 people. The time from the back to the front is minutes. And, you're texting each other, like, where you at? What place are you in? I'm going to get you. And, like, it's a fun game. And, it kind of keeps it motivated. And, you walk away with a pretty good, training day with the race type effort. So it's fun. And then, again, we're going to do this again. We're going to do it again this Thursday all together. So
1:10 Mountain Time. It was so much fun. I didn't anticipate how much fun it was going to be. And I also went way harder because you guys were there than I would have by myself.
Yeah, so, I was just trying to stay with Jake and Matt Lieto, and I was working probably too hard and sweating and crying a little bit inside of how I'm not cut out for the Zwift life.
One point we asked where each other were. Isaiah was in the second group, so I knew he was minutes ahead. Me and Jackson were around 120th. Frank was 86. And I was like, I wonder if we can catch Frank. So, you hit it hard. You go by him, and he says his Bluetooth was dropping out.
It's so true.
He ended up minutes
whatever makes you feel better, Frank.
So fitting.
And then I also had personal athletes join me. I was like, don't worry, it'll be easy zone 2. You guys can just cruise it. And they wrote minutes later into Training Peaks, like, zone 2, sure thing, coach.
Yeah.
But they were there. But they had no problem, like, sprinting to take out the group sprint lead that we were in. Like, yeah. So they just love it. Like, they're all on it. So, yeah. When I was chasing down Coach Frank, I looked down my wheel. It was those 2 guys that I coached were right there with me. Like, they weren't letting me go. So,
I saw you guys coming up on me, and I was, like, slowing down. And then I haven't have the game figured out yet, because, like, when I tried to speed up,
slow down.
Yeah, like, there's no such thing as just, like, slotting in and hopping on your wheel. Like, I got dropped like a rock. Yeah. Anyway, y'all were also, like, texting when you got to the finish line, and I had, like,
yeah, and like Greg Henderson was in there, which was pretty crazy. Like, it was nice. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, you all. So listeners, join us. It was fun. Thursday, 1:10 Mountain Daylight Time. There's other times in the day. That's just the one that we're all gonna get together on. I think there was like a 4:10 a.m. There's a 4:30 p.m. There's a lot of different stands of the day. And Coach Jake's pro tip that saved me yesterday from not, like, finishing last was get there about a half an hour early, and I got front row call up. So it felt like a cyclocross race where, everyone's warming up and they're all behind me. Coach Jake is way behind me. So when we started, I was, like, in the front group for first minute. And then I dropped back to the second group. Yeah.
Yeah, with 500 people in the group, you're going to be 30 seconds behind at the start. And when everybody's starting at over 5 watts per kilo, you can't catch the front. Like, you'll pass a group, but then another group will show up on screen just because they can't show that many avatars on screen at the time. So the earlier you can join the start time, the better. Like, they auto join you under 5 minutes. So anytime you join before that 5-minute period, you're usually pretty good. But yeah,
is that a normal group size for a Zwift ride like that?
No, that's big. I'd say a normal race would be 100 to 150 maybe. Oh, wow. But yeah, but these special series, and some weekend ones will have 500. So they'll have like a Fondo series on Saturdays, which get 400 or 500. But yeah.
Just show up 30 minutes in advance like me. And then, yeah, it was interesting. There was 600, and then there was only like 140 finishers, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, join us next Thursday at 1:10 to see for yourself, and show up 30 minutes early if you want to get the front row. Jake, you want to do a screen share and maybe show everyone in the YouTube land about what it took to bridge up and then drop me and all that stuff?
Yeah. Hold
what
on,
the
let me
power
pull up
demands were.
the right one. So let's see. Screen share. This is all new to me. Picking desktop
Resuming
2
everyone
and
in the podcast land.
share. All right.
Oh, look
So
at that.
so some of this is my warm up. So I'll just zoom out my warm up and go from the start of the ride to the race. So the race was
It's not a race, I think, Jake.
It was like my
Speak for yourself. It felt like a race, actually.
It was a race.
Athletes referred to it as a Zwift mullet. It's a business up front and party in the back.
Yeah.
So right. Here's the race or the ride, the Zwift ride. It was like 48 minutes. Let's see. I had to do 3.63 watts per kilogram to finish in the group we were in. We were around 80th place, I think. So, I mean, just to get to the point before I started bridging to Frank was 3.3. But, I made this little effort to get up to Frank and pass Frank, which was almost 6 minutes at 5.5 watts per kilo and 360 watts. And after that point, things did kind of stay spicy as we finished off, higher 3.6 watts per kilo for 15 minutes. So
is that your sprint there at the end?
It's this little spike right here. I was holding on my phone so I could text the group, and I ride rollers, so my sprinting is pretty crap. But yeah, it was good. 600 watts, not even 600 watts. So yeah.
That was my bridge.
I might as well just solo attack. So yeah. That was pretty much the demand of our Zwift ride last night.
It was fun. It seemed like you had to. It was tough to conserve energy, and I didn't feel a draft. Did you guys feel a draft when you got in the group?
It seems very little. Yeah, it's what they call double draft little. Too. So, but I don't know what they. I don't know.
It's weird. It's a weird rubber band thing. I was noticing it was just like I would be like kind of getting like dropped out of a group and like, oh no, and then I would like power a little bit, and then I would just like slingshot ahead, and then have to slow down, and it's a little bit. It's a little funky. I think my Bluetooth was off or something.
If you lose the draft of the group, you know it because you won't catch back up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
especially if the group starts hitting it downhill, you better be on that group. Otherwise, you'll never catch them because the group will go so much faster.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Stick on the wheels. That's when you notice the draft effect. Is that the group is pulling away and you're doing twice. Yeah. You could be doing like 6 watts per kilo behind a group doing 3 and you won't catch them.
So join us, do Zwift rides. It doesn't have to be that one. If you want to set up like a weekly group ride, a lot of the things that we discuss in the forum is so we prescribe group rides on Saturdays for a lot of our training plans. Or if you're had a race, what do? Well, you can substitute a Zwift race 1-for-1 on your training plan. Just treat it like a race. And then if it was a group ride, just go ahead and hop in a Zwift group ride 1-for-1 in place. And yes, it's not going to be maybe as long, but I don't think you really want to try to maintain super duper long hours, for the next couple of months. You may unless you have like a CTL target goal, that's a little bit different case. But if you're just doing Zwift group rides and racing, you really need to be good for like an hour. So may take a page from the cyclocrossers and just be able to go really hard for an hour. But
I could see Zwift getting like into a little bit of a rabbit hole where you're kind of blowing yourself up if you're just spending a lot of time on there. I mean, it seems like I see a lot of people on Strava just like basically only doing Zwift right now, like a lot of it. And I'm like, man, if that's what every Zwift ride is like, I would be like on the floor all day, every day.
I was blown at dinner time yesterday. I was pretty schlacked. Yeah. Just from like working with athletes from all different demographics. I mean, like I have some athletes, they'll do 3 group rides in a row on Saturday for a 3-hour ride. They'll get like a 200 TSS out of it. And that like they don't even worry like if it's crappy weather because they're going to get their ride in. So, and then others are like, I'll just cut it back and do an hour instead of my normal outdoor 3-hour ride. So it just kind of depends on your where you're at in your relationship with indoor training and all that. But the biggest thing I think is, in the context of this podcast and, setting new goals is, go ahead and figure some different ones out. Cause, we, can't go for whatever goal that was at the BWR or even like participate in it. Now we have to like, get out there and do a Zwift ride, and you can be part of that community like we did last night. And then getting back to Strava and Isaiah, what do you call the thing where you can like invite the guys that you normally ride with and say, hey, let's do these segments. Like let's do this segment this week and that segment next week.
So what some communities have been doing, which is a really cool concept, is creating a group on Strava and then highlighting different segments to try and hit. And I think that this is a good concept for either virtually or non-virtually. So, one of the Boulder community guys created a Strava group and basically sent out no open invitations. We have a lot of like really, strong hitters part of this group. And then we listed some pretty prolific Strava segments within that group. And we're all like, all right, we're going to go try and target this and try and get these KOMs. And that's our own community race in a way, where we're all going to go out and like the rules are, you go out and you do a solo, you give it a good go. And then on top of that, because it's a Strava group, you get all the statistics along with it. So how many miles people have done, how many feet have they climbed, so on. So it becomes a little bit of, again, another way of connecting with the community and keeping things fun and competition based. So it's just kind of a cool part. And then what we were thinking is that we could apply it to virtual stuff as well. So, like within FasCat's Strava page, we can then take on challenges virtually. So within Zwift, have different segments that we can take on. It's just a cool way of connecting and staying competitive in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And for everyone out there, the Watopia Sands and Sequoias route, 12.6 miles. Jake, is that your time of 31:32? Is that the KOM or what?
No, that's just that I did a race this winter on it. It's just the time I had on.
Okay.
So what I did is I found these routes and started pulling them apart. And basically, if you find the Strava segment on Strava and you are part of our FasCat group, you can see the regular KOM, which is usually just absurd because it's a Zwift KOM. And then you go over and you click on our group and our team and you click on FasCat and it'll populate just to show the best times from our FasCat team and all of our FasCat athletes. And what I noticed as I was going through different ones is it's like, wow, Jake actually has like quite a few of these within our group. So that's kind of where it came from, of beating Jake. So I'm going for it. Everyone else should go for it. I definitely think it's doable to knock him down. So there's a couple of things, and I probably should throw them into the footnotes of this episode. But there's a couple different segments we can throw in there to make him and be like a long distance one or a short distance one or a climbing one or a flat one. It'll be a good challenge.
I like the Alp de Zwift. I think that because everyone likes to climb and that's a good like measuring stick. Yeah.
And that one's good because like it takes off the effect of the group draft. So like Sands and Sequoias, if you did a race that was a group, the groups can go a lot faster than the individual go. Because I'm actually looking at the Strava segment right now. It's definitely from a group because the average power of that one was only 280. Yeah. And when I did it on the TT was 310, but a much slower time. So
right.
But we can discuss that. We can discuss that in the forum.
We'll put that's a good one in the forum, and we can put those in the show notes and so kind of direct you all to where to go if you want to give it a whack. And then Jake, have we talked about ZwiftPower.com?
No, ZwiftPower.com. You have to sign up for it. This is how you can see what place you finished in each of these events, rides or group rides or races. If you don't sign up for it, you won't see your place in, but it's great because then you can see what your power to weight ratio was for the ride for through 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. Then you can see what everybody else was doing and compare yourself to see what kind of power would have to do to be with the next group, what kind of power would have to do to get there to the next fastest group. So it's kind of a fun little tool, something else, you know, just throw in the mix to keep you motivated and something to look for.
Telephone.
Who has a landline still?
This is what happens when you Zwift at home.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Since we are podcasting about additional goals in virtual communities, I think a couple other goals you can have, real world practical advice that you can, news you can use is now would be a good time to start a yoga practice. Now would be a good time to maybe start meditating. A lot of stress and anxiety going on in the world right now. And, I would be the first to admit I've tossed and turned at night lately. And it'd be a great thing for you all to use to complement your training and just, a healthy lifestyle. So think about that. Yeah, Jackson, you're twice a day, morning and evening?
Yeah, generally. I haven't been, it's sort of, I'm morning for sure every day. I try to do a night, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, of sitting. But I think more than that, morning and night is a good goal to strive for. But I think if you're new to it, the key is to just start with 10 minutes in the morning and just do that for 10 days in a row and just, start small and an attainable habit. I think something I've been thinking about a lot in the last few days is just since we're just staying at home so much, I feel like the days have been flying by because it's like Groundhog Day. We're just in our houses, maybe going for a ride and kind of doing the same things, but it's not like I'm going around and, being, traveling and doing stuff that I normally do. And so one way I'm really thinking about making that, especially in terms of sleep and relaxation and minimizing that stress, is developing a daily routine that is much more structured than normal, of waking up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day, meditating for the same amount of time in the morning and the evening, maybe alternating, doing a little core routine one day and the next day is like a foam roll stretch routine, just to put some barriers on each side of the day, so that especially at night, so that you can wind down instead of just sort of mindlessly consuming social media or Netflix and screens, which is going to affect your sleep for sure. And so having a wind down routine, which may include meditation or yoga or stretching or, having some tea and reading a book, I think that is such an important thing that we can be doing right now with everything that's going on, instead of just watching the news late into the night or even, YouTube or Netflix or something like that. So, but meditation is a great tool for that.
Where would you recommend the people that want to try it for the first time start? Where would they go?
For meditation?
Yeah.
My favorite meditation app is Sam Harris's Waking Up app. It's free in the App Store. And I believe the first, it's a subscription like a lot of the other meditation apps, but I think the first 10 days or so are free. And so I would say start with doing the first 10 days of meditation through that app, and just 10 minutes a day. It's such a great place to start.
Okay, cool. We will try it out. Jake, we expect a report back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If your kids allow that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like kids kind of throw a wrench in the meditation spoke.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, that's why you got to put them to bed. Once you get them to bed, then it's like you're free until you need to go to sleep. But when my kids were younger, we used to put them to bed at 7:15. Then you had a couple hours.
I usually put them in bed at 8, but then I'm usually falling asleep at 8:15.
Yeah. Speaking of kids,
Speaking of them, yeah.
I personally, I go to bed at like 9:30, and that was, it's a half hour earlier than when I used to go to bed. That was a revelation I had from using the Whoop strap that Isaiah was just talking about, where I thought I was getting 8 hours of sleep, but it was reporting back that I was awake, in fact, for an hour. So, hey, what's up there, little buddy? So,
yeah, well, that's another thing, right?
in order
Is we have more time, so
yeah.
we can get an extra hour of sleep very easily right now, especially if we've been like kind of slacking on that, and you know, you're not commuting to work in the morning now, and so sleep in a little bit longer or get to bed a little bit earlier. It's huge.
Or you don't have to put pants
absolutely.
on.
Yeah, you don't have to wear pants all day. It's awesome.
You just have to wear pants to answer the door when, you know, you take your delivery or go check the mail or something.
Yeah. When my head wheels come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing, another goal you can set in addition to all the bike training goals and meditation, yoga is, you know, maybe make a goal of, becoming a better cook, but, you know, preparing your food a little better. Like, you have more time to sleep. You have more time to prepare food, kind of like what Isaiah was talking about, where he's, you know, making, now he has time for lunches. You know, go online, find a good recipe that you want to try. And, you know, because you do have more time, you can get more elaborate. You know, you have time to chop vegetables. You have time to use your killer set of Tupperware. And my advice is don't cook a recipe just once. The first time you do a recipe, that's when you make all your mistakes, and then you eat it and you learn from it. Do your recipe like 6 times and try to master it. And then you'll not only master shopping for those ingredients, but you'll master making it, and then you'll enjoy it that much more. And, you know, just remember to, getting produce and fruit and greens is a little more challenging these days because you're not able to go to the grocery store as frequently. So, you know, maybe also give yourself a little more flexibility with your nutrition as well.
Yeah.
I was joking with my family about getting a bread maker so I can make my own bread.
Oh, that would be amazing.
My brother ended up buying me one and had it shipped to with Amazon. So I'm on my second try of bread. So yeah, first one was good.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, like you said, trying the recipe, fixing it up a little bit, making another loaf right now.
You have to post this on Instagram so we know what's happening, Jake. You have to join the bread making of Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always wanted to make my own bread. Maybe that'll be my new goal for the quarantine.
So that's my new thing. But it was so hard to find yeast. Like, gosh, yeah. Because everybody's finding this. I finally found bread flour this time, so that should help a little bit. Yeah.
Nice.
Man, you're so domesticated. Who are you?
Right. Oh my gosh! I got to get an apron though. I had some flour on my shirt. I had to brush it off.
I've been working on my granola recipe. You can buy all those ingredients generally in bulk. So I've been honing in on that. And other than that, I have all this time to ride because, you know, like my kids haven't been in school, so I'm not taking them to school. All their after school activities are canceled, which was, I used to be dad taxi all afternoon. So that's not happening anymore. So really we can just like traditionally stop work at 5, then, you know, prepare dinner, things like that. Then gives you plenty of time to ride during the day or in Zwift in the, you know, whatever time of the day. So that is more or less it for this podcast. You have been listening to the FasCat Gravel team. Thanks so much for tuning in. As a reminder, next week, question and answer. We want to hear from you. Any question, we always get asked, you know, I don't think I should ask in public or anything. Don't be shy. What's the expression? The only bad question is the one that you don't ask. Is that it, fellas? Something like that?
It is now.
It is now, yeah.
Okay. All right. There is no such thing as a bad question, just one that you keep to yourself. So speak out. Help at fastcatcoaching.com, FasCat Coaching on Instagram, and forum.fastcatcoaching on the web. That is it, everyone. Practice your social distancing. Get out there and ride, but do it by yourself. Be safe. Wash your hands. Face. Yeah, right. Sorry, Jackson. Yeah. And happy Friday. Anything else, guys? Parting words of wisdom?
See you Thursday.
Yeah. Come to our Zwift.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, we want to see you all there next week. It's going to be fun. All right. Well, on behalf of Coach Jake, Coach Isaiah, and Jackson Long, thank you all for listening. We will be back next week.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.